Um, Thanks to the Zoom background, I am now serving the role of Jade Cargill's torso.
What I enjoy is that her arms are coming out of your head, kind of like like antlers.
Now it's kind of like
Yeah.
I'm wearing her jacket as like a hat, and Jade Cargill is like the poof ball at the top.
Or you could put like a beer in each of her hands with a hose coming down. Yeah. I think that'd be
Um,
fun.
I quite like Jade Cargill. I think
Now,
she
before you even get into it,
okay.
I have to admit something.
Mhm.
Not super familiar with Jade Cargill. I know the name.
Okay.
I know that she's been sort of in and out of AEW for a while with injuries and maybe some. I don't know if there was any kind of like controversial reasons for it or if she was well liked or hurt or whatever. I just know that she is reputedly very good and reputedly not working in Jacksonville anymore. So you can now sell me on Jade Cargill.
Okay, so Jade Cargill is well, okay, so this is going to start off poorly. Jade Cargill is not that great of a wrestler.
Okay, well,
She
great to see you, and
yeah.
everyone have a great night.
Well, okay, so she's I don't want to say that she's not like look, even if you execute the moves in a way that like looks clunky or whatever, but people care about your matches, you're a good wrestler. But like in her case, she's very new to it. Like she's only been doing it, I think, like 3 or 4 years, and entirely in AEW. So at most once a week. So I think in total she's had 60 matches in her entire career. So
Okay.
that's not a lot to be good. And because of how she looks and how she carries, like she has such a star presence that's incredibly noticeable, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, so she has this star presence. She looks good in a wrestling ring. She can do cool stuff. I don't think AEW ever figured out kind of what to do with her really. But
Yeah.
basically, what she did is she went on a long undefeated streak in AEW. She won the TBS championship.
Ooh.
And then when her contract was up, she got a better offer with WWE. They had Chris Statlander beat her, and then off she went. But it didn't ever seem like she was involved in too many storylines. It was just here's Jade Cargill and here's another challenger, and then they would have a match.
So,
Uh,
see, that's
yeah.
interesting because that is somewhere that AEW is has a bit of a fault, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, in that they are definitely not a teaching hospital. Like you don't
No,
really go
no,
to
no, no.
AEW
Yeah.
to learn,
Mm-hmm.
whereas WWE has always seen the importance in creating stars from within
Mm-hmm.
because they know how fast the turnover is on these people. So, if Jade Cargill, like you say, is an experience or whatever, I bet you she would benefit greatly from a stay in an NXT type program where she could learn some of those finer points from great people and great coaches and be a big superstar. So with that in mind, it doesn't really surprise me that WWE scooped her up.
Yeah, and now I mean, like, I don't want to say that like she did some cool stuff, but it's like name the cool storyline Jade Cargill was involved in. I was like, I can't remember any real storyline. Like, they would just kind of give her a challenger from time to time. There might be like a storyline there, but like
This was also
nothing in
when
depth.
Tony didn't really know what to do with his ladies division.
Has that changed?
Well, I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I haven't seen Dynamite
There's,
yet, but
look, there's cool stuff that happens in AEW's women's division, and they have some cool wrestlers. Uh, but like the Tony doesn't get a lot of praise for the booking of the women's division.
nay.
Um, but with Jade Cargill, I think another thing that's going to benefit her when she moves to WWE is the difference in the audience. Because part of the reason where maybe Jade Cargill kind of became stagnant in AEW is because the AEW fans, they're conditioned to love the Kenny Omegas and the Will Ospreay, or well, I guess he's not in AEW, but well, he
The Young
wrestles there.
Buckses, the Hangman's
Yeah,
Page.
yeah, exactly. Like this really good, awesome matches that can like go 30 minutes and stuff like that. Whereas like that's just not the same in
Mm.
WWE. You can be a main eventer and only ever do 9-minute matches, whereas that's not really how AEW does things. They're elevating the best actual wrestlers a lot of the time, or like at
Mhm.
least guys that can have, 20-30 minute 5-star matches or whatever.
Mhm.
Jade Cargill definitely had some great matches, but it's she's going to benefit more because WWE is about spectacle and she is a larger than life kind of star.
Mhm.
So the fit is just way better for her in WWE with the way that they build their characters and the larger than life characters and create spectacle. Like Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair would be a far bigger
Yeah.
deal than anything AEW's ever done with
Rhea
their women's division.
Ripley,
Rhea
Becky,
Ripley, yeah,
Bailey when she comes back, or if she's out, I don't know what she's doing right now. That's honest. Dakota Kai when she's healthy, these kinds of things. Like, yeah, there's lots of talent. Nia Jax is back, so that'd be an interesting thing. Um, so yeah, there's a lot more room for her to grow for sure.
She's someone like Jade Cargill is someone who Vince, for whatever role that he has now or whatever influence he has now,
I believe he is chief mustache officer.
he would absolutely love Jade Cargill. And so I do think that when she comes into WWE, I'm not expecting her to have to rise through the ranks. I think they're going to
Mhm.
make her out to be a big deal as soon as she arrives.
I mean, and so you have to kind of question that, like, as we mentioned before, would it be better maybe to start her off in NXT? You know how they used to do that every now and again? They'd bring in an indie guy and start off in NXT for like 3 or 4 months just to kind of get a feel for how WWE things operate a little bit, and then
Mm-hmm.
they'd bring him up to the main roster or something like that. Maybe they could do something like that with Jade just to make sure she's good.
I think everything that you do with Jade Cargill up until her main roster debut has to take place behind closed doors because she is all about the aura and the character of Jade Cargill. So I think putting her in NXT in front of like 200 people, it's gonna that's too gritty of a show for her to be on.
No,
She want like I think they want her to come out with a huge pomp and circumstance entrance. Um, yeah, I'm expecting Jade Cargill to be a very very big deal in WWE immediately.
it's interesting to hear you say that too,
Mm.
because part of that is sort of predicated on the fact or the idea that people would know who she is, and
Not necessarily, not
but, and
necessarily.
I was gonna say that like WWE usually doesn't play with that at all. Like normally they want people to come out and be who they want them to be, not who they are or were, right?
Mhm.
So it'd be interesting to see her sort of shotgunned right into the setting where the only thing that people really know about her is what she's done in AEW, and that's only sort of a fraction of the audience. Now, like you say, that could benefit. That could be great. You could build her from the
Mhm.
ground up. But I have a lot more confidence in Triple H doing that than like a Vince,
Mhm.
because he knows how to do that. Like he's created women superstars. Who then went and changed the face of women's wrestling. So it's I don't have any worries about Jade Cargill that way for sure.
I don't necessarily okay, so like obviously the AEW fans are going to be familiar with her. But you're right, that is a percentage of your audience. It's
Mm-hmm.
not I always say it was like the difference between AEW and WWE is WWE has parents and their kids.
Mm-hmm.
AEW does have some parents and their kids, but WWE, like if you go to a house show,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost all parents and kids. Like it's a bigger part of their market
We're all
than
playing,
for
yeah.
AEW. So that crowd isn't going to be very familiar with Jade Cargill. But like I think she could come in and just because of her appearance, the way she carries herself, they could play her up as a big deal, maybe not in wrestling, but like she could immediately come in with and and like go right after Charlotte Flair, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't, and it wouldn't matter if the fans know her from AEW. She's a star by appearance alone, basically. Like she is, yeah. Like I don't know. I don't think people would have to know who she was
Good
for
work
them
if you
to
can get it.
understand that she's a star. She looks like a star. So,
She does. It's the hair.
yeah.
It's perfect. It's sheen.
And she's making a wonderful hat for me.
Indeed.
So we'll
It's
see.
great.
I am 100% certain that Jade Cargill is going to be very successful in WWE. It's a better fit. It's a better fit, and they'll know how to make her like a superstar.